The Plank, presented by Ram, starts now.
Hi everyone, welcome inside The Plank, the latest episode presented by Ram. This show is streaming exclusively live on our free ABC Action News app on abcactionnews.com. Hello everyone, I'm John Sable.
And I'm Tom Corin. Well, let me just put it this way. I'm glad this show wasn't at 4:15 yesterday afternoon because I was PO'd, man.
Yes.
I was like this. I was like this. I wanted to just throw something at the television.
I think everyone was like that after that bad game in Houston with the Buccaneers losing, in just every facet of that game, just awful. We're going to get into that, but this is how you can connect with us. Joining in here on The Plank using the hashtag The Plank on Twitter. You can also tweet Tom Corn and I. There's our Twitter handles at John_Sable and at TCorn WFTS. And if you want to give us a call, we'll be taking your calls for the next half hour, 813-878-2888. We'll be flashing these contact infos coming up here throughout the show.
And I'm sure whoever's out there right now, you had to feel the same way I did. And I think John felt the same way. I don't know how you can sit there and not have anything to say about it, because that was an absolutely winnable game for the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. The defense held the Texans to 10 points for most of that game. The offense could not find the end zone. Brinza couldn't find the space between the uprights.
Nope.
All right, after that 58-yarder, which was awesome.
We could have gone for 70 yards.
Yeah, but any chance of keeping that halftime lead, increasing that lead in the third and the fourth quarter, out the door. Not to mention there was a huge opportunity on that fumbled punt return by Houston. There's some question as to whether or not if it was reviewable and the Buccaneers had recovered a fumble, it would have been overturned because his knee was down. I put it in super slow motion, and I got to believe, yeah, it probably would have been overturned.
Probably.
But Josh Martin, dude, you were brought in as a special teams guy. You don't try to be a hero. You don't try to pick up a ball that's flumbling around. You get control of the ball. You get down on the ball. You get possession inside the 5. Don't ever do that again, because if you did it on my team, you're gone.
Listen to this guy.
No, I've had it. I don't like to see mistakes. When I didn't play college. I played high school, and stuff like that makes you run laps, and I mean laps, and I hated running laps.
Yeah, who likes to run laps?
And these guys are professionals. This stuff should not be going on. Penalties, the mental penalties, should not be happening. I mean, they had 10 for 84 yards yesterday.
Yeah, 10 for 84 yards. This is the third consecutive game. There's only been 3 games this season. The Bucs have had 10 or more penalties. I mean, you have to attribute some of this silly mistakes, some of these penalties on coaching, right?
Well, you know what? You can only coach a kid up so far. Once he gets on the field, it's him. All right? I can't sit here and say that the Buccaneer coaches are not stressing these facts, but the fact is they shouldn't have to. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't have to. That should be automatic. But I guess now it's time for the Plank Report.
All right, let's get right into it.
Beat writer Greg Auman will hopefully be joining us later in the show. His flight from Houston has just landed, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Right, we don't have a problem in Houston at this point. But there were a handful of momentum killers, as we've been talking about in this game. One Mike Evans pass interference call on a big play that killed the Buccaneers' drive, and there was Brinza who missed, 2-3 field goals, the extra point. I mean, it sucked, folks. It just basically
It was
sucked.
Every facet of the game, offense, defense, special teams, just an overall bad game. 9 points, nothing to be happy about to put up on the scoreboard. Here's some post-game reaction from yesterday's bad loss.
Really thought we'd play a lot better today. Had an excellent week of practice. Normally that, carries over to the field on game day, but that wasn't the case.
I put this on me. It was a lot of plays I should have made on third downs that I didn't come up with. Offense played great. It was up to me to make a couple of plays and then could have put us over the hump.
Kickers are so important in this league. It's because you got such little flaws you can have in your whole body of work. And I had a couple today and hurt our team.
Now, of course, Mike Evans putting that blame on himself. He had a few drops yesterday that was very un-Mike Evans, characteristically like his style of play. He's a very dependable wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Finally got his first reception, not just of the season, but including the preseason. Remember, he went all preseason, was out for half of it, and then, of course, missed the opener, played last week in limited plays against the Saints, but still a non-factor. When you think about it, yes, he had a little more than 100 yards of receiving yards, but really not making a big play. You got to like, though, that he put the game on his shoulders. You can't put the blame on Jameis Winston. Yes, he was not very accurate, but he still put up some decent numbers, still guided the team down. He had a bad pick when he tried to force the ball into Mike Evans. There, I think it was the beginning of the third quarter. That really set the tone for a bad Buccaneers offense in that second half. Vincent Jackson had a touchdown, but was then called back because he didn't get his second foot in bounds. That was a momentum killer. It just, a recipe, Tom, that just did not go, a recipe for disaster. I'll just put it that way, for a Buccaneers loss.
Okay, if you have an opinion, which I'm pretty sure you would, if you don't, you ain't got a heart, man. 813-878-2888 is the number to give us a call. We'll take your opinions on what happened yesterday in Houston in just a minute. But earlier this morning, I did have a chance to hook up with KTRK Sports Director David Nuno, who is in Houston. And I wanted to get his perspective from the other sideline. David, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. I'd like to get your takeaway of that game yesterday in Houston's win over the Buccaneers. What did you think?
Well, I know it was a snooze fest for the most part, but I enjoyed that it was a game until the very end. That part I did like about it. I enjoyed watching Jameis Winston out there. He makes some mistakes, obviously, as most young quarterbacks will do, but I think he's got a great potential as long as he keeps growing, especially with that core around him. I'm a big Mike Evans fan. Saw him in high school, saw him in college. I think he's got some great things, and obviously Martin is a beast back there in the backfield, as is Charles Sims. On the Texans' perspective, I think their defense is nice. J.J. Watt didn't have some good numbers, but typically that happens when you get double, triple teams. And Ryan Mallett was efficient, wasn't great, but when you have Alfred Blue running the ball like that, it can kind of, they ate a lot of the clock up. I think that's what kind of set the tempo of that contest, and that's why it was so close, yet Texans were able to pull away at the end.
I'd be interested to know what O'Brien had to say after this game. Did he feel at all that in that game that there were a lot of missed opportunities by the Buccaneers that could have flip-flopped this score very easily? A lot of missed field goals. There were a couple of other opportunities. Penalties were absolutely ridiculous from the Buccaneers' perspective. Did he at all feel that perhaps the Texans may not have played their best game but got away with one?
They actually probably did play their best game because they've been pretty atrocious the first two, to be honest with you. That being said, I think a lot of the players in the locker room told me, and Bill O'Brien also said, these games come down to the fourth quarter. A lot of NFL, even teams that go 2-14, we saw with the Texans a couple years back. You're in all these games, but you're losing them in the fourth quarter. Bad teams lose games in the fourth quarter, and I think the Texans, for once this season at least, were able to put their foot on the accelerator in the fourth quarter. They missed an extra point. They missed some field goals as well. And, yes, there was some good fortune for them with some missed field goals on Tampa's side. So I think absolutely they benefited from that, but I think also they felt some blood in the water in that fourth quarter, and they were able to accelerate a little bit.
Were you at all surprised at the fact that J.J. did not have the explosiveness that he normally has, even when he's double or triple teamed? If there was a takeaway from my perspective, the Bucs offensive line did a nice job of keeping him out of there. And on the other side, Clowney, was he mentioned? I just think that maybe from the perspective of that offensive line, a lot more could have been done. Bucs third down conversions, 1 out of 12? Ridiculous.
Well, I'll say this about JJ. He is a beast, and for when you're double and triple teamed, you need other people to make plays. So you're absolutely right. Jared Crick was not really out there. I think Clowney's playing pretty well considering what he went through. He's obviously not the number one pick of last year that everybody expected yet, but when you have microfracture surgery, that's a 16, 18-month rehab, and then you never know if you're going to come back as well as you did. I think because he's so young, the fact that he worked so hard, he looked strong, he made some plays, but he wasn't, a first pick of the NFL draft kind of player, absolutely. But I think that'll come. The rest of the defense needs to be able to get some pressure on the quarterback. Nobody this season but JJ's hitting quarterbacks, and that's a problem for them.
Yeah, one of the big pluses for you yesterday was the running game. Blue coming out of the blue from our perspective, with Foster still out. That's got to be a real nice consolation knowing that in case something does happen to Foster again after he comes back, you got a guy of Blue's character there and quality to be able to come in and spell him.
You know, the thing about Alfred Blue is he's either really good, as you guys saw yesterday, and last year he had his first start was also an Arian injury, and he played against Cleveland. I think he had 107 yards in that game as well. Or he's the Alfred Blue that we saw the first 2 games of the season where he's getting 2 yards a carry and not playing downhill. And then part of it's also this makeshift offensive line that the Texans have. I mean, Dwayne Brown was out. He's a Pro Bowler. Brandon Brooks left the game. They've had 3 other starters out in this game alone, and I was pretty surprised the way that Alfred was able to get downhill the way he did. For yes, you're absolutely right. For a 6th-round pick from last year, Alfred Blue played out of this world. He just hasn't done that consistently yet.
David, I want to get an outside perspective here. From my point of view, I think this Buccaneer team has potential. From your point of view, after what you saw yesterday for 60 minutes of football, what's your take?
Well, I look at these kind of questions 2 ways. I look at the organization itself. What's their track record? What's their history? How quick do they bounce back? And I put the Texans and the Bucs kind of in the same category to where, I mean, obviously the Bucs have the Super Bowl, but where they've had a lot of bad years more than good years, and I wonder sometimes about the organization from that standpoint. But when you look at talent alone, and I love Lovie Smith, when you look at what they put together there, absolutely the future is so bright. The thing about the NFL is, how do you adapt when other teams around you adapt? So they've got the quarterback they think of the future. They've got a wide receiver core and a running back core. Can they continue to build that defense? And with Lovie Smith there, absolutely. I think Tampa's future is very bright.
I appreciate it, David. Thanks a lot for your take on yesterday's game, and best of luck to you and the Texans down the road.
Thank you. Maybe we'll meet each other again in the Super Bowl.
Maybe not this year, but maybe in the future.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
You too. See ya. All righty, so, David, he's got some faith in the Buccaneers. I actually have some faith in the Buccaneers, but yesterday it just irritates me to see guys just give games away, and they gave that game away yesterday. That was a winnable. They should have won that game.
Should have won it, and you're echoing exactly what a tweet we just received in from our own Adam Weiner, one of our ABC Action News morning reporters, tweeting, what was the most painful part about the Buccaneers game is that they could have and maybe should have won it.
Oh, they should have won.
And he's exactly right, because that was a winnable game. It was competitive, albeit sloppy, but still, they could have easily won that and could have gone over 500 for the first time since 2012. It's been that long. And now, here are your final stats from yesterday's bad loss. A lot of problems here. The biggest thing to me, Tom, comes to obviously Kyle Brinz's ineffectiveness. He's a rookie. You can't put this whole game on him.
I don't care if he's a rookie.
Yeah, he's got to make those kicks.
Make the damn kick.
10 points left on the field with his 3 missed field goals and the extra point, but he's not the only problem. Your 3rd down conversion, 1 for 12. That's unacceptable. That just is not going to get it done in the National Football League. And then not to mention, we already talked about the penalties. 10 penalties for the Buccaneers for 84 yards. I mean, they had in the first quarter more penalties than the Buccaneers had in total first downs. That's bad.
I got nothing else to say. I mean, I'll get apoplexy up here if I keep talking about these schmoes. All right, how about, speaking of which, this is going to be my favorite part of the show today, is who's going to walk the plank. You think, does anybody out there, I'll give you one guess, who's going to walk the plank today? All of you out there, who would you want to see walk the plank?
There's so many that you could pick.
Oh, I got one.
I have one too.
Oh, I've got one. And we're going to find that out coming up later in the show. But once again, folks, you can contact us by hashtag @theplank, @John_Sable, @TCorn, WFTS. And 813-878-2888 is the number to call. Don't be shy, man. Giddy up.